Let's talk about the psychosocial and preoperative nursing care components that shape a patient's surgical experience. We spend so much time focusing on the labs, the consents, the diagnostics, but the emotional and educational preparation is just as important. This is where nurses make an enormous impact. Before surgery, almost every patient experiences some level of emotional reaction. Sometimes it's obvious, like fear, worry, or a lot of repetitive questioning. Other times it's quieter, withdrawing, shutting down, or avoiding conversation altogether. Fear can come from so many places. Fear of the unknown, fear of pain, anesthesia, complications, loss of independence, or even fear of death. For some patients, it's tied to past experiences with the healthcare system. What we know from research is that anxiety changes the body. It increases epinephrine and norepinephrine, raises blood pressure, increases the heart rate and blood glucose, and ultimately makes postoperative pain, infection risk, and healing worse. So reducing preoperative anxiety isn't just nice. It's clinically important. When you're caring for these patients, pay attention to how they express fear. Some will ask the same question 5 times. Others retreat into a shell. The best approach is to be empathetic, to listen carefully, and to offer information that answers the fear beneath the question. A big part of the psychosocial assessment is identifying their support system. Who do they rely on? Who's going to help them when they get home? What's their usual level of functioning? What are their daily routines? All these pieces help shape your teaching and planning. You also want to know if they're ready to learn. Not every patient is in the right mental space at the moment you walk in. Some need a slower pace. Some need a different teaching strategy. Some need a legal guardian present to make decisions. Respecting a patient's cultural beliefs and spiritual values isn't optional. It's foundational to trust. Part of preoperative assessment is understanding the patient's cultural background, how they view illness, and how they communicate distress. Some cultural groups don't express pain openly. Others avoid direct eye contact as a sign of respect, not avoidance. Some cultures consider parts of the body sacred, like the top of the head, and prefer to place their own surgical cap. Your role is to stay open, aware, and non-judgmental. Advocacy means honoring the patient's values and integrating them into their care plan. And sometimes, the most effective thing you can do is slow down, sit, observe, and truly listen. Preoperative care begins long before the day of surgery. It starts with taking a good history, medications, allergies, previous anesthesia experiences, and underlying health conditions. Once you know who the patient is medically and emotionally, you can tailor your approach. We've known for decades that preoperative education reduces anxiety and improves outcomes. Teaching starts in the provider's office, at pre-admission testing, or during clinic visits, and continues all the way up to the moment they roll back. Education should be individualized. Some patients benefit from written instructions. Some need demonstrations. Some need everything said twice. Always give the what, but also give the why and the sensations they might experience. Instead of saying, "This medication helps you relax," you might say, "This medication works quickly. It may make you feel lightheaded or sleepy within minutes." Give the right amount of detail without overwhelming the patient. A major goal before surgery is preparing the lungs for recovery afterward. We teach patients how to take slow, deep breaths, how to exhale fully, and how to use the incentive spirometer. If the patient will have a thoracic or abdominal incision, we teach them how to splint their incision. Splinting helps reduce pain when coughing and prevents poor clearance of secretions. Without effective coughing and breathing exercises, patients are at risk for atelectasis and pneumonia. Early mobility is one of the most effective tools we have after surgery. It improves circulation, prevents venous stasis, and supports respiratory function. Before surgery, we teach the patient how to turn, how to position themselves, and how to protect their lines and tubes. We teach simple leg exercises, hip and knee flexion, ankle circles, and reinforce that maintaining muscle tone helps them get moving sooner afterward. We also prepare patients with step-by-step skills they'll need afterward. We teach diaphragmatic breathing, splinting, leg exercises, how to turn safely, and how to get out of bed without straining. Practicing these skills before surgery sets them up for success when they're groggy or uncomfortable afterward. Pain management is another essential component. We explain pain scales, the difference between acute and chronic pain, and why taking pain medication regularly in the early postoperative period is important. Older adults require special consideration. Polypharmacy, cognitive changes, vision or hearing challenges, and increased fall risk all influence how we teach and how we assess. Many patients need more than physical instructions. They need strategies to manage their minds. Cognitive coping techniques such as guided imagery, distraction, positive self-talk, music therapy, aromatherapy, Reiki, acupuncture, yoga, and relaxation methods can all help reduce anxiety and may improve postoperative recovery. For same-day surgery, education is more compressed. Patients need clear instructions about where to go, what to bring, what to wear, and what to leave at home. The final preoperative phone call often reinforces NPO instructions and skin prep. Nurses build trust quickly in the preoperative period. That means introducing yourself clearly, acknowledging the patient as an individual, and understanding their fears and coping strategies. We also consider cultural variations in pain expression, communication, and beliefs about blood products. Nutrition and fluids play a role as well. NPO instructions prevent aspiration, and the exact timing depends on the type of food. Some patients now receive carbohydrate drinks before surgery as part of enhanced recovery protocols. Patients may need bowel prep before abdominal or pelvic surgeries. Skin prep focuses on reducing bacteria without causing injury. Chlorhexidine wipes and antimicrobial soap are standard. Hair is removed with clippers, not razors. On the day of surgery, the nurse confirms patient identity, places alert bracelets, removes dentures, plates, jewelry, and nail polish, ensures belongings are secured, makes sure the patient voids, administers antibiotics and pre-op medications, and completes the preoperative checklist. This checklist includes consents, labs, diagnostics, allergies, safety risks, and documentation that follows the patient into the OR. Warming the patient for at least 30 minutes before surgery helps prevent unintended hypothermia, which is associated with bleeding complications, delayed wound healing, and longer PACU stays. Family members wait in designated areas where volunteers and nurses support them. They should be reassured that the amount of time spent in the OR does not reflect the seriousness of the surgery. The surgeon provides the official update afterward. By the time the patient goes to surgery, we want to see lower anxiety, lower fear, a clear understanding of the procedure, the ability to demonstrate pre-op exercises, compliance with safety measures, relaxation during transport, and knowledge of postoperative expectations. These outcomes tie directly to national safety standards and nursing-sensitive indicators.